does. There have been a number of studies that have looked at the effect of changing the diet on not only hormones but also on cancer rates. And there are two that I want to share with you really quickly. One was at the State University of New York at Buffalo. They looked at women who already had breast cancer. There were about 900 of them, and what they found was that as the time went by, the risk of dying of that disease increased by 40% for every 1,000 grams of fat the women consumed per month. Now, to picture what I'm talking about, let's say you're on a plant-based diet without animal products, without a lot of added fat. There's really not much fat in that kind of diet. For comparison purposes, let's take a typical American diet that might have lots of cheeseburgers and gravy and French fries, a lot of fat in it, right? Those two differ by a good 1,000 to 1,500 grams of fat every single month. That's good for a 40 to 60% difference in whether you're dead or alive at any time point down the road. Now, another study called the Women's Intervention Nutrition Study, the WINS study, was very important. They brought in women who had breast cancer, and what they did was they asked them to lower the fat content of their diet. And the women did this. They compared the women on the diet who were getting about 30, 33 grams of fat. That's really low. They compared them to a control group that got about 51 grams of fat. That's lower than average, but not as good as the people on the special diet. They then tracked one thing. These women had been treated for breast cancer. Did it come back? Or did they get a new kind of cancer? Because as you may know, if you've been diagnosed with cancer before, breast cancer, you are more likely not only to get a recurrence, but to get a new cancer again. And what they found was absolutely being on this diet did help prevent it. It cut the risk of a recurrence or a new cancer by 24%. Same thing with prostate cancer. Researchers have looked at men with prostate cancer, changed their diets, and looked to see, does this really make a difference for me? The answer is yes. Dr. Dean Ornish, you know his work? He did the research studies on showing that you could actually reverse heart disease. He used a low-fat vegetarian diet, exercise, stress reduction, which is why he didn't do the study in Washington, D.C., where I live. And what he found is that it does reverse heart disease, but then he put this to work for men who have prostate cancer, and the results were amazing. 93 men, everybody had prostate cancer. As you may know, if you have prostate cancer, you don't necessarily have to have treatment right away. Many of these men are older, they can sometimes wait, and they track a blood test called PSA. Prostate-specific antigen. If it's not going up too fast, you just wait. If it is going up fast, you need treatment. You can't wait anymore. And what they found was that half of the group put on a vegetarian diet compared to the other half that didn't change their diet. The men on the vegetarian diet showed their PSA. It wasn't rising. It started to fall. It fell about 4% over the course of this trial. That's good. That means we're regaining our health. And there wasn't a single person in that part of the study that needed to have treatment. But in the control group, their PSA was going up. It went up about 6%. And when you looked at the group, out of the 49 men in that part of the study, 6 of them couldn't wait. Their cancer was aggressively advancing. They had to have treatment. And there's another wrinkle in all of this. There's a specific effect, apparently, of dairy products. Men who consume more dairy products seem to be at higher risk of prostate cancer. Now, we need more research on this, but 2 large Harvard studies have shown that when men consume a lot of dairy products, their risk of prostate cancer is substantially higher than that of other men. And the reason may be that dairy products change a man's bloodstream. What they do is they increase the amount of something called IGF-1. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor number 1. I think of it as a little bit like cholesterol. You know how if I take a blood sample and I measure cholesterol, that tells me what? It tells me, are you going to have a heart problem down the road? Not necessarily right now, but 10 years from now. If I draw a blood sample and I check your IGF-1 level, insulin-like growth factor number 1, if it's higher, that means your risk of certain cancers is higher too. Prostate cancer for men, breast cancer for women. Why would milk cause IGF-1 to increase, which it does? Well, think about this. What's milk's job? What is milk for? Milk's job is to help a little baby calf grow fast. And once the calf is big enough to graze, there's no need for milk anymore, right? So, if milk's job is to make things grow, it includes not just protein, not just fat, not just sugar, that's the lactose that's in the milk. It also contains hormones and growth factors. And inside the calf's body, it causes the production of more growth factors that allow the tissues to grow. One of these, IGF-1, is a very potent stimulus for cancer cell growth. If I mix IGF-1 in a test tube with cancer cells, they grow like crazy. Well, a man or woman who drinks 3 glasses of milk per day has about a 10% rise in the amount of IGF-1 in his or her bloodstream. So it's very rapid. It happens very, very quickly. So many researchers are now saying, well, if I don't want to have things growing in my body, maybe I should not be having food that causes growth factors to be produced.
We deeply appreciate Dr. Neil Barnard's important work in the field of cancer prevention and for actively seeking to enhance overall public health. We firmly support him in his call for everyone to quickly adopt the vegan diet, the key to well-being and longevity. For more details on the Cancer Project, please visit www.cancerproject.org. The 2-set DVD, Eating Right for Cancer Survival, and the Cancer Survivor's Guide, a free-to-download ebook, are available at the same website. Thank you, beloved viewers, for being with us on today's program. Please join us the third Monday of each month for the remainder of this 8-part series. Up next is Science and Spirituality, after Noteworthy News, here on Supreme Master Television. May you always enjoy the very best of health.
For more details, please see www.suprememastertv.com/HL.